What up? So today I'm gonna show you how I made this stuffed chicken breast. Well, I made 4, but it's only one right here, but I'm gonna show you what I did. So first I found some big old thick chicken breasts in the store, and that's what made me want to make them, because I don't find a lot of thick chicken breasts like these often in my area. So when I do, I gotta jump on that, and I love me some stuffed chicken breasts. So this is gonna be the broccoli and cheese stuffed chicken breast. So we're gonna make a little opening. Now you can keep going with the hole like this if you want to, but I just did it like this because if I start from the side like this, I go straight through, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to make basically a chicken breast sandwich. I just want to make a nice opening, because like I said, these was kind of thick, so I was able to put a lot of filling inside. So just make a nice opening. Just don't slice all the way through, just enough, because you can go smaller than that if you want to, but I like to go big or go home. Okay, that's just me personally. If you want to go small, start small. You know, you ain't got to make your opening that big, but that was just me. I just wanted to make sure I had a lot of filling. Nice opening. And we're just gonna continue until you are done. Okay, make sure every one of them got a nice opening. Don't slice them through the middle, because like I said, you can make a nice opening like that, or you can keep going just a little bit. Just be very careful not to keep slicing right through, because it's easy. And like I said, because you don't want no chicken breast sandwich. We not trying to do that. Because then it's going to be filling everywhere on both sides. And that's the point of making just a pocket. So it ain't got to go all the way through, you know? So just continue doing that until you're done. And like I said, I had 4. So I just make sure I opened all of them. And once I was done, went ahead and seasoned. Now the seasonings will be at the bottom, but I'll still tell you what I used, of course. So I started off with paprika, because at the end of the day, when I'm done seasoning this, it's not gonna be that same. It ain't even gonna look raw no more. The chicken should be a whole different color when you done seasoning. Now paprika, you can go crazy with that, because they don't got, I don't know if paprika got salt in it, but it's really for color purposes. So I just kind of went over the top. It's gonna look like a lot of seasonings, but it's not, because like I said, these were super thick chicken breasts. So we got to make sure it's sopped on. So I started off with paprika. I went in with some poultry seasoning. I went in with some black pepper, a little bit of Adobo con Sazón that I got at the Mexican store, a little bit of garlic powder, onion powder, and a little bit of garlic pepper. Okay, and then we're gonna give it a mix. And like I said, once you're done and once you get the seasoning everywhere, because the seasoning, it need to be inside and out, not just on the outside of the chicken breast. It need to be inside the chicken breast also. Okay, we want to taste the flavor all through the chicken. No chicken breast is left behind. Everything needs to taste the same. Nothing should taste different. So make sure you really get in there. If you gotta use gloves, use gloves. I'm more traditional. I like to use my hands. Ain't nothing wrong with that. It's just me and my man that I'm feeding. Okay, so I just went ahead and just got it sopped up. Got it real. Let's make sure it's everywhere. Make sure it's all over the chicken, inside the chicken, every piece of this chicken. No crevice, no crack left behind. Everything should be covered. You see, it's already starting to change a different color. That's the point. That paprika add that. It make sure it put that extra brownness on it when it cook. So that's what we doing. Just continue doing that until you got all that seasoning off the bottom. And it's everywhere on this chicken. And I mean it. I keep saying that because I mean that. Individually and equally, everything should be seasoned. Okay? Everything. Now, if you start kind of small, if you heavy-handed, start kind of light with the seasonings, because then once you start cooking it, you'll have room to add. If you go too heavy in the beginning, because that was quite a few seasonings that I just told you I use. But if you don't go too crazy, start off light, you can add later, okay? And that's what you will want to do anyway. You don't want it to be too salty. So I added a little parsley flakes just for, once again, color purposes, because I just like my food to look pretty. That's just me. If it look good, you gonna want to eat it. I like my food to look just visually pleasing. So then we're gonna go ahead and I cut up a red pepper. I keep saying we and then going back to I, but so I cut up a whole red pepper, and then I put it in my vegetable chopper, because I don't want the chunks to be so big like how I'm chopping it right now. So I use the vegetable chopper to kind of just chop it, like kind of fine it down a little bit. Get it as thin and as small as possible, but not too grated to where it's like almost like a puree or something. Just enough. So I just did a couple little pulls off the lever of the vegetable chopper, and then boom, done. So now I'm going to assemble. Now I use the whole thing of cream cheese. If you got to add more if you need to, but make sure you leave it out so it's room temp, so it's easier to mix. Then I added some cheddar cheese. Then I added the red pepper and frozen broccoli. You can cook your broccoli if you want to, but I just preferred it to be frozen. It ain't gonna take long because it's gonna be going in the oven either, so don't worry about it. And it's gonna be sweating a little bit on the stove. Then I added a little bit of seasoning. I just added a little bit of that garlic pepper and some of that Adobo con Sazón seasoning, just because both of them are super salty. So I didn't want to add too much, and you don't want nothing to be over salty. You don't want nothing to be too. You don't want nothing salty at all. You just want just a little bit of salt. You don't want too much. You ain't even got to use all of what I use, but I just tell you what I did. You can take away or substitute whatever you want to. If you want to use salt-free seasonings, you can. Just make sure you got all the ingredients and you doing what I'm doing, because then we gonna be all right and it's gonna taste great. So now we gonna basically go ahead. Well, you know what we gonna stuff the chicken. I stuffed them real good too, real good. Okay, make sure you get it in. That's why I did the opening so big, because I want to make sure I could put like a lot of stuffing in there, because the stuffing really make it a stuffed chicken breast. You gotta taste them flavors in there. So I stuffed them first, and then I'm gonna do the toothpick after I got all 4 of them stuffed. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. So just, we just gonna go along with that. My mouth just hit the microphone. Sorry if that was loud. But yeah, we just gonna go ahead and stuff all of them and make sure that they're stuffed. And then we're gonna put the toothpicks in and to seal the deal. Now use whatever method you can or you do, but just make sure they are sealed tight. I use about 3 to 4 toothpicks depending on the chicken breast size. That's the most that you should have to be used. You shouldn't have to use too many. I mean, if you want to use more toothpicks and really seal it like that, you can too, because then probably nothing will seep out damn near. But this is the finished product before I start basically getting them brown on both sides on the stove. So I'm using my cast iron skillet for that. I thought I was gonna bake them in this too, but I did not choose to do that. So I'm gonna add the chicken breast, and we're gonna get a nice brown on both sides, basically to cook it halfway, basically to speed up the process. So then by the time we put it in the oven, we only gonna be putting it in the oven on for 15 to 20 minutes on 375. Now, if you got to add a little bit of seasoning on the top if you have to also. But like I said, once it start cooking in the oven and the chicken really start getting done, then you can really taste it. So then you can see if you need to add more seasoning or, whatever you need to do. If it's too salty, add a little water, okay? If you go over the top and if it get too salty, just add a little bit of water, because that definitely will balance it out. Because it's going to be in the oven anyway. You just got to let it cook a little longer and it'll get all that. You ain't got to worry about it. But that's why I said start kind of light with the seasonings first. Or like I said, you ain't got to use everything I use. I just tell you what I did. Now, like I said, just a nice brown on both sides. I'm going to be cooking it on 375 for 15 to 20 minutes. Or until tender to your liking. Look at that color. You see the color? That's what I'm talking about, that paprika. Okay, it do what it need to do. Okay, I like that. I love that. But like I said, 375, 15-20 minutes, or until tender to your liking. Add a little bit of butter to the bottom, of course. Now, I did cover it for a good half of those 15 minutes, like almost 10 minutes. I covered it and let it cook, and then I uncovered it and let it cook some more. Because like I said, when you cover it, it helps the tenderness, and then you uncover it, it kind of, that helps too. It basically adds the crisp and that little brown to it. So that's what I'm doing first. Make sure you, when you take them out of the oven, that you take them toothpicks out, because don't nobody want to choke. Okay, we don't need none of that. I added the juices from that chicken right on the top, and it was delicious. Well, after it cooked. It was delicious after it cooked. Now I paired this with some garlic mashed potatoes and some green beans, and it was delicious. Okay, you can pair whatever you want. You can pair it with just some rice and a roll, or just some rice, and it's great. Okay, But make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.